Welcome back to Anime Savants, everyone. This week I am Itamui.
Oh damn! This week I am Sunraku.
Oh
man!
All right, and let's just go ahead. We're gonna hop into Anime 2023, fall 2023. Mm-hmm. All right. What have you been watching, or what's one that you do not like the most? What's like top 3? Like, I'm probably not touching this again.
Okay, that should be
just one of them. Just one.
I think Berserker of Gluttony.
Okay.
Like, I kind of knew what it was going to be. I read a little bit of the manga before. I was curious, like, okay, well, if it's getting adapted, like, are they putting some money into it, or is it just like a cash grab?
Yeah.
It's just a show that doesn't have a lot going on besides the concept. You know, like, if you want to see the traditional overpowered main character go out, kill a bunch of monsters, get strong, go crazy, and go berserk on guys, it'll probably give you what you want. There's not a lot in the way of like characters to point to, like, you know, the premium shows, your JJKs, your Undead Unlock, the Shonen Jump stuff.
Yes.
The reason why those pop off as action series is not just because, oh, there's guys with powers doing stuff. It's because you can usually point to a character and be like, bro, that dude is cool. I can identify this person. Like Gojo was there off Jump, right? Like that's just a character that stands out. Berserker of Gluttony doesn't really have that because the cast is really so small. And it's really all about the main character and his sword. The sword's kind of like a demonic entity that's a kind of an asshole, a little snarky. Main character's kind of like a milquetoast piece of shit who's like obsessed with like one girl. And then there's the girl Roxy, and like none of them are particularly interesting on their own. They don't really have like a ton of chemistry. The main character's a moron. This girl's like throwing her vagina at him, you know, from the first 5 minutes of the episode. He's like, I don't know what to do. It's like it's a waste of my time. It'll probably be a waste of your time. So I'm not gonna follow it up.
Okay.
What about you?
The one that I absolutely will not be touching again is a playthrough of a certain dude's VR MMO life. Fell asleep in the first episode. Ooh. Like, ooh. I literally, it was interesting to the point where he was just like, I'm gonna pick the things that people usually don't pick and that are hard to level up and stuff, just so I don't have to deal with people. Like, he literally just like, these are things that people will not want me to be added into their party because I'm gonna be a liability, but then I'll actually get good at it, and I'll do my own thing and I'll be good. I just couldn't. I just couldn't really get that for that. I noticed when I woke up and it was like almost to the ending, and I was like, oh, I fell asleep. All right, I'm just not into it. So, interesting premise. Maybe someone will come back around and say, oh, hey, this actually develops in a completely different way. The beginning was just very, very slow. Cool, I'll give it another try. As of right now, it's giving C, like a good C, but like a C, not like a don't ever touch this, blah blah blah. It's definitely for some people, because I do see people talking about it, but it ain't for me.
Okay. Another one that I'm kind of on the bubble with, like it I have been for a while. Shield Hero. I think that the production is really good this season.
Did you try it out?
I did. No, I think the production's good this season. I think they found a premise to justify giving people something to do that's not like this like singularly epic problem immediately, which is in season 1. That was kind of the vibe, right? Because you spend a lot of time learning about the world, and then you get the revenge plot, and then that leads to the pirate or whatever, the ghost ship thing, and it's like, okay, that ends the season. You're like, okay, bet. My general problem is just that despite the fact there's more to do now, it still feels like it's treading water, and I lost interest in the prior season, so it's like someone can get me back into it. It looks good though. I mean, I don't doubt that it is.
I thought that was what everyone was really excited about, was like, it looked good, like it was going to be a return to form of like the first season, like action and engagement wise. And you're not feeling that?
It's the tournament arc. That's why people like it.
Oh, it's a tournament. Oh, okay. Well, the opening is really nice. I like the opening. Okay.
And there's some good diverse. I only watched the first 2 episodes, but there's some good like diverse characters that you get introduced to as part of the Coliseum.
Yeah, I saw like a big
storyline. I wish this had happened before. I wish that this had been, you know, in the storyline where season 3 was, and then season 3 is the continuation, because then you kind of have built up a lot more.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Like I'm not hating on it. I just know I'm not gonna follow it this
You're not
season.
gonna
So
stick
it's
around. Yeah.
nah.
That's fine. I mean, other than that, I really haven't watched anything else that I did not like, or that like I don't plan on covering, because I'm watching so much stuff already that I feel like I was like, I don't have time
Too
to
much.
watch
Too much.
something that I might not be super into. But the only thing that I could say that is close, and I don't feel like dropping it, but I definitely see how a lot of people wouldn't be into it. And you mentioned this earlier, which is Shy. So I've watched up to episode 2. I know episode 3 is out as of today. Episode 2 actually was way more interesting than episode 1. Episode 1 kind of to me was just like trauma Olympics. Like,
yeah, they didn't do an origin story, but they did like another version of like how Stella got her groove back.
yeah,
Like we find out about like how, you know, she's terminally shy, that's hence her name. And then
yes,
she leaves heroing because of an accident, and then her getting back into it. And I only watched episode 1, so I know the end of episode 1 there she's given this like new threat that's like worldwide. I assume that's the
yes.
catalyst to meeting a lot of the other heroes from around the world. And that seems
So
cool.
it actually like immediately starts in the second episode with the threat appearing and like manifesting. So it's definitely giving monster of the week that are all connected. But the monster of the week actually was really fucking creepy. And the way that she solved the problem, I kind of was like, girl, where's my Sakuga? But at the same time, the creepiness of like the introduction of the villain and just like the way that he was acting and moving, I was like, I really like this characterization of this villain. Shy herself was kind of just like, she kind of did like the power of love, like friendship healing kind of thing. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind that in Pretty Cure or something of that nature, because I know that what I'm getting is that with this, it kind of gives that like there's definitely something a lot more sinister going on underneath, and that is the root cause of the monster afflictions, things like that, like where like it's the hidden parts of people's hearts that becomes manifested. So like basically the dark shit, like the really fucked up
Okay.
shit. So the premise of the second episode is basically the girl gets fucked up because her parents saved her during a fire, and she's blamed herself the entirety of since the fire, that her parents' deaths are her she killed them. So that's just been boiling, bubbling up, blah, 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 blah. He takes advantage of that. She transforms, or not partially transforms, blah, blah, blah. And I would say Shy, not knowing how to deal with it, was interesting until it got annoying. And then I just like, okay, well, I'm still gonna come back and see what we're gonna do about this, because I'm actually interested in getting to know the other heroes outside of Shy. Because so far, these 2 episodes of Shy, I'm kind of like ready to go. I'm ready to move on. And
Yeah, I
I'm
wish it
looking
wasn't
forward
as
to your
drawn out
voice.
in episode 1. The thing I felt when I was watching that, now granted, it's probably a different vibe in 2 because you now introduced some of the supporting cast, but I
Yeah.
really felt like it was missing a friend character, somebody who just from an attitude she could bounce off of, in that incredibly reserved, pulled back, and then maybe some character that was like upbeat. Because even when they had Papacia popping in and out, and she's definitely like the Onesan,
Yes. Yes.
ditzy, but even that's not exactly like a counterpoint to what Shy's character is. That's just like, she just forgets things, and it's more of like not comedy, but like someone trying to help, but they're not like getting it. And so that winds up, in just that one episode, I was like, I see production is good, music is pretty
Yes.
good,
Production.
the
Yeah.
action choreography is pretty good, effects are good, but if this is like an indication of what I'm gonna get over the rest of the series, I don't know what I'm coming back for. Am I coming back to see her do hero stuff? It wasn't like that interesting. And
And
maybe it
it
gets better.
is.
Maybe it gets better in
I
the
would
other
say that
episodes.
you talking about like the bounce off, I think
Yeah,
that definitely is coming.
sure.
In episode 3, maybe if I had watched episode 3 today, I would have more to say about that. But it seems like the person from episode 2 was being set up as that counterpoint that's
Is
gonna
it
always be there.
the eco character, the girl who she saved, who's in
Yeah,
her
is the
class at the end? See,
her.
that's fine, and that's why I'm like, I'm not negative on the show. It's just more that it's not doing enough for me right now to say that I'm gonna put in my rotation with like other more interesting
Agreed.
or action
Yeah,
oriented stuff that I'm into. So
absolutely. I mean, that's just too much. Yeah.
that's pretty much I got. Another one that's kind of on the edge for me, and it's more for like opposite reasons.
Uh-huh.
Is the what's it called, the Kingdoms of Ruin. I think of all the original show, or not, I don't know, I don't think Kingdoms of Ruin is original, right? Is it a manga or a light
Yeah,
novel?
it's an adaptation. It is an adaptation.
Yeah, I think it's probably a light novel. But the of all the shows that I had no idea or necessary interest in coming in watching all the trailers,
Yeah, it's a
Kingdom of
manga.
Ruin surprised me in the trailer with something that like a setting that seemed a little bit more original, or at least like off the beaten path, a main character that seemed a little more like
Yeah,
aggressive
no
and torture, no
isekai. Yeah,
isekai, like,
no harem.
and
Yeah,
then like the potential for like powers and things that are just, a little rarer today than they may have been 10 years ago. So I was like, boom, I'm into it. And then like the magic and the technology mixing together, I was like, okay, let's see what we're cooking with. And in the first episode, I was pleasantly surprised that we actually got a good motivation for the main character to have something
yes,
to do.
yes,
Shooting
yes, we did.
shooting Chloe in the face was a great shock, moment to be like, all right, this is gonna kick us off onto some brutal adventure, people about to get murked and blown away and all that stuff. So I was ready. And then but I was worried because there were some things in episode 1 where I was like, they are cutting some corners to try to save some money. But I get it. And then episode 2 came around, and I'm like, the budget fell out of the bottom. Like, they still kept all of the visual theming
Yes,
and whatever, but the animation went away. So there was, I would say, like in
yeah, the
episode
still
2,
shots.
yeah, for an episode that was basically an attack on a major city where we're supposed to see all these superpowers and things getting blown up and like armies getting annihilated and right, we're supposed to get all that stuff. I would say a good like 40% of it was just done in still shots of people talking over, including
Yes,
some real basic stuff like with what is the pink haired girl's name when she's running to
I
go
don't even
save a
remember her name
child?
right now.
They
Yeah.
didn't even
Oh,
animate her running.
when she just appeared with the child after
Yeah,
the
I was
building
like,
was
bro,
down.
we are at the bottom of our budget here. If you can't even get a walk cycle or a run cycle on camera, like this is not good. This is just not good.
Even
Um,
so, I'm loving it.
yeah,
I'm loving it. I'm
it's
loving it.
compelling in spite of the fact that it is clearly the vision was bigger than the budget, and it was
Yes.
bigger, and they've cut corners in places that like it makes sense. If you can't get it done, you just do this. But I feel bad because I'm probably not going to be as interested in the show because of that problem.
Yeah.
Other people are going to see that and they're going to assume, without necessarily even watching it, that there's nothing there because it's a much cheaper production than the idea. So I will probably still like try to watch it, but when I find myself like skipping forward over still shots to get to actual animation, that's usually a bad sign as far as my interest in the show. And that sucks because I think they're doing a lot of good stuff. So I'm not out on it, but it's just like, man, this could have been a better situation. I kind of want to read up to see like what happened, because this unusual that it's like this kind of a production problem.
Yeah.
What about you?
Rock the Crimson. I I enjoyed it, but I'm not really seeing the allure beyond a certain point. I'm definitely going to keep watching it just because it does perform well on my channel. It is interesting, but at the same time, my favorite part of the show right now is Crimson's voice actor. They're
Yeah.
absolutely fucking slaying it. But with episode 3 really, 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 really gave me like, this is all like preparation, and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that, blah 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 blah. And I honestly was watching the episode and I was like, it'd be really, when I saw the car, I thought, oh, I didn't think this was like an industrial like universe kind of like thing like that. And then I went, if they have a car, it would be crazy if they had guns. And then in
And
the
then
same
they did
fucking
the guns,
episode,
lots of guns thing from the Matrix.
lots of fucking guns to the point where they were
Yeah.
like, infuse these bullets with silverine. Like, get
Yeah.
it together. Like, and I'm like, and that, I'm not gonna lie, it threw me off because I was like, I don't know, but they haven't really done world building beyond dragons bad. We gonna kill dragons.
Right,
So
exactly.
I'm like, I don't know what kind of world I'm in, and now I'm kind of like worried because I'm like, if it's gonna be just like pure battle shonen, great. Like I do not mind that. I would take it, blah 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 blah. But if they're gonna try to like talk about like specific things and concepts and analogies and do things like that, then I'm building because like they when the car showed up, I'm thinking, what? And then he gets out the car, and I'm like, what? There wasn't the car. And then I'm also like, wait, they need to let us know what happened last episode. And then they do a little flashback, and then we get to oh my god, did you see that cut that they did at the end of the episode?
Yes.
Oh my god, it was so abrupt. I was like, did my internet go out?
Did the thing end? I think that's just what happened. I think that's because that's every copy I saw.
Oh my god. And so then it did that, and then it did the little ending thing, and then it came back, and I was like, wait, what are we doing here?
There's a lot of there's like some weird stuff. I think where I was because this is another one where I read a little bit of the manga adaptation.
Yeah, you told me about that. Yeah.
And you can just look at the trailer. Like, this is not, at least as far as I can tell, there's not going to be a lot of like deep positing about the nature of man in reality or anything else like that. This is like a reverse time travel ultra battle monster of the week or monster of the arc kind of show where the end result is a bunch of people screaming at each other and over the top action happening. And if you were into the way they tweak that so that it's not just like running and cutting somebody every single episode, like by episode 3 you've got Crimson manipulating these dragon hunters with some plan to kill the dragon without using Ragna, who's fucked up. I thought, now I don't know how that turns out because I didn't read that far into the manga, but that is the kind of thing that I like because it gives other characters something to do without it always coming down to the main character doing something. So you keep it fresh. This also got 24 episodes. I want to remind people.
This is 24?
This is 24. So this is a double core option that they took right off the bat. I presume that given how much I was hearing about the manga, that this has been doing pretty well over in Japan. And it's not a high budget series, but like you saw from the action the first couple episodes, like it's actually decent. It's decently animated. The voice actors having a good time. I wouldn't put this above like good, which to me is like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. But unlike
it's a solid
Berserker,
5.
It could right. But unlike Berserker, the chemistry between Ragna and Crimson in the context of the voice actors and in the show is actually something I enjoy and would look forward to on an episode by episode basis. Of like, Ragna being a very kind of bluntly straightforward person with decent morality, but clearly having made this deal with the devil, and Crimson being the literal devil all the time. Like when they were fucking with Ragna, like because he couldn't move and and then started stomping on him and like all that other stuff.
Crimson is my favorite character because I think about what is the most like craziest shit you could say to him right now, and then Crimson says it like lock her away. Like this, like for like cryo freeze that bitch.
Like if you're so worried about your girl, we could just like drug her and put her in a subspace thing, and then you love taking care of her, don't you? You little fucking pervert. Like, I think also the slime character was used in a really cool way in the 3rd episode, where it's like extending the eye all the way to the city and then using its body to remake. So you don't have video, but you've got like this.
It made it
3D
more than
recreation.
a gag.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like that's what I mean. Like little inventive tweaks. They're not new. They're not like, it's not revelatory, but somebody is thinking of interesting things to do. So I'll tune in to see some like interesting shit, and then ultra violence, if that's what you're going to give me on a bi-weekly basis, I'm good with that. So it's at like a 6 or a 7, maybe it's more like 6.5 for me right now. It could go up. It absolutely could go down, but as long as they keep this cast tight, and I don't really care about Leo, so like
I don't really care
out of
about
here.
Leo. Yeah.
Keep her out of here.
I thought it was funny when she tried to kill that nigga. I was like, oh my God.
Mollywopped. So that part I think is pretty cool. So I'll keep my eye on it. I'm not like,
yeah.
I'm not sweating over it, but it seems.
Did you watch more of Dead Mount Death Play season 1?
I did actually, and I remain where I was when I left off, which is like it's actually pretty good. There's some parts of it that, especially I think around episode 6 through 8, that are a little. It's like a detour because they're dealing with like like a family thing with some characters that I don't think they're very young in the the canon of the show, so they don't have a lot of range, and it's like a lot of time is spent on their family drama, which I wasn't as into. But as that's happening, there's a whole bunch of other villains that are getting spun up who have genuinely interesting abilities and kind of weird proclivities that you haven't figured out, like who's on whose side and kind of what's going on. And then what I thought was going to be the least interesting part of that show, because they have these like police type detective characters who are really part of like a supernatural detective agency or part of the police. They actually have some cool abilities, but they're also like not totally serious all the time. So I was like, I see the vibe. I see what's going on. I have not gotten far enough to know like what the truth is about the world he came from, the main character did, and where his powers come from. Because every time they do a flashback, it's like, oh wait, there was more happening over here than I would have been led to believe about like how his philosophy was molded by the people that he was with and the things that were done to him and whatever. So I think it's actually probably worth time. I wish I had more time to go follow up on it, but I think it's actually pretty good. Again, like in that 6 to 7, depending on your taste. Maybe it's an 8 for somebody, but definitely in that 6 to 7 out of 10 range for me. Let's see. Spy Family season 2. Have you spent any time on that?
I have not. I actually haven't started it yet.
Very pleasant. I liked it. They have not gotten to the main story, but that's like their pattern, is that they do like 2 to 3 episodes that are like each half an episode is a little story. So it seems like they're getting back to like the central story again in episode 3, but in episode 2 specifically, there's a story about Bond that's actually really good. And I think the voice actor who's doing the dog is having the time of their lives, because like there's not a lot of dialogue because it's Bond trying to avoid dying because he can see the future. So it's like all these things occur, and then he sees like, okay, if this and this happens, I will die. So I have to figure out some way to like prevent that future from happening. So it gives you this idea of like what the dog's inner life is when they're not on camera or they're not part of the main story. Is they're trying to keep the family from dying, but they can't talk to anybody. Even Anya is like, don't bother me. What the fuck are you doing? So I really enjoyed that. So it's like I still feel Spy Family is that I could show a non-anime watcher.
Absolutely.
Easily. So I'm always happy to see it. And the production's really good. So
oh yeah, with Studio, they're and Cloverworks, they're gonna show out.
Yeah. I think it yeah. What else for you?
For me, Freerin.
Yeah.
Fuck,
whichever watch that.
You didn't watch it? Oh my god! On episode 6.
I know people losing it.
Oh my god! Like this is like Mushoku Tensei without all of the
perversion.
But like it's not isekai. But that is true. The feeling that you get in Mushoku Tensei, where it's like you feel like it's a show that people care about, like from just like the music to the background to the voice actors to like everyone that's involved with this shit is like doing their part to make it memorable for you. And on top of the material just being good itself, Freerin gives you that. It's not sinister. It's very like, it's a slow build of like fear where there are things that are definitely coming in the future that it's coming, but you don't know when it's going to come in the story. But the centrifugal force is that Freerin is an elf that is damn near immortal. Like elven lives are way longer. And because of her approach to life, we're basically learning about Freerin as a character as Frieren past Frieren, and then we're seeing the new Frieren. Oh my god, how y'all Frieren, whichever one, how she is developing into a new person. And then you also have new people coming into her life, and you also have old people coming into her life from like 70 plus years ago, that are talking about how different she is, and things of that nature. So it's good. It has hit every point, especially with the dragon fight. Oh bitch, they were like, we have a budget.
That's what I heard about.
We have a budget. In episode, was it 2 or 3, when they had like the first fight, when the first time Frieren actually like fights something, it's so disgustingly overpowered, but like gorgeous. Like there's a part in it where the way that you would imagine these niggas to be fighting in Dragon Ball, that's what it is. Where it's like someone literally has like, oh, no, you need to watch it. You need to watch it. Everybody watch it. Get to Frieren when you do. It's really, really good. Phenomenal. I love it, and I'm just trying not to say specific plot points because I want people to watch it as opposed to hear it out of my mouth. Because you need to experience a lot of it yourself, and it is heartfelt. And I mean, personally, I haven't gotten to like, oh no, I'm gonna cry, blah blah, but I have been like, oh fuck, man, like, yeah, y'all got some shit coming down the line. I can tell you, like, I know it's coming. So,
listen, I got this. I got the vibe, so I will watch it. And part of the reason I'm definitely going to watch is because of the show that I wanted to talk about next, which is Faraway Paladin.
See, I completely forgot about that first episode. Yeah.
So the first episode is kind of it's definitely slower paced because most of it involves William taking B out into the forest to find like this school for magic, but it's really so that she can look up in their archives of someone that she knows has passed away, which you don't really find out until like the end of the first episode. But a lot of it is about like, William has this magic that he's trained. So it's really, I would say like lighthearted is maybe not quite the right word, but it's definitely, if you had been watching, like, let's say you watch all of season 1 and then you watch this episode, this is really more of like a palate cleanser because there's not a lot of in the way of action. It's a lot of character dialogue and like scene setting because time has passed. I think it's been like 6 months since the events
I thought it was like 2 years or something.
Or so it's definitely a while. I mean, because they built like a new town.
Oh shit.
But it's not done. So it's a while in the future. But the second episode is much more what you would the best part of the first season, because it's basically just William and Menno. It's just the two of them basically on an adventure to like a forest that's like been corrupted by demon shit, and there's this whole thing about like the Lord of Holly, and then the episode kind of that adventure ends and it dips directly into all the politics that's happening now between all these towns, and this is where we kind of get the quest that he has to go on, what presumably for the rest of the season, this idea of like going out, training better, repaying his debts, and then going out into the the broader world again to do some adventuring. So the cast is kept pretty small for these 2 episodes. Like maybe there's 3 or 4 of the characters but like it's a lot of just one-on-one time, first with B in episode 1 and then Menel in episode 2. So I think that the production has stepped up a lot between seasons, especially like the action stuff. There's still CG, but there's a lot more like paint, like very nice looking backgrounds. Music is good, the action choreography is good. So I want to know where we're going. So I'm in again. So Faraway Paladin, pretty good. I don't know, you said you didn't watch it, so we can skip on ahead. What's next for you?
Next for me, oh damn, which other one? Undead Unluck.
Yeah, bro.
So first and foremost, that opening, Queen Bee.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Oh my god, fucking bravo. Well, the song first of all, but also the visuals.
Yep.
I was like, this is art. This is art. this is art that I'm watching right now. Like, this is so good because they could have easily put an upbeat song to that nigga just spewing blood and fighting niggas, and it would have been amazing. It would have been great because it's a shonen. They actually, like, there's effort put into this, like a sound direction, and this is a shonen. Like, this is a shonen. So, love the opening. As far as the show, I was caught off guard with that opening. Like,
really?
It was
like in the airport where you're like, what the fuck is this?
The airport, the couple in the snow, like the whole. I was like, I moved my mouse. I was like, is this the right show? Like, what's going
on? You're like, wait a minute, what is this?
Yeah, like, what's going on? It went on first episode. You know what? It is extremely David production. It's almost like are a lot of the same people who worked on Fire Force working on this? Like,
it could be
the crew, because I'm getting so many like through lines from Fire Force, just like camera angles, the way they use like the silence or like, and they have that humming noise in the background, or like the shading on the super vibrant like background with like the characters looking in on each other, but they're like have like shade over them. I'm like, this is it's not bad. Like, I'm not saying they shouldn't do that. I'm just saying there's a lot of effort going into this that I did not expect. Not that David Production ever does a bad job. Like, I'm not saying that, but I was just like, I'm getting a lot of like Fire Force influence here. But I liked it. I was afraid going into it because I am very like squirmish when it comes to like excessive gore. And I got used to it like really fucking fast. Okay,
you know what it is? I think it's because this show bounces between extreme comedy, like where you're not even sure what isn't a gag, all the way to hyper violence where the outcome is absolutely serious, like this is some real shit. So that when it pulls back the comedy tone, it's actually it's refreshing. You're like, oh right, yeah, this is a battle shonen. This is some wicked shit going down.
First episode, I was like, okay, I shonen first episode, really not much going on. Second episode, the moment that Union showed up, when they broke the whatever reality or shit, and then they do that sound of and then that nigga showed up like that, and I was like, oh, shonen time. And it was just to the end. I was
like pure. It's like a very like pure shonen vibe,
and I loved it. I was just like, I'm in, I'm fucking in. To the figuring out their powers as the battle went on, to homegirl doing dumb shit, to him being annoyed with her and being like, I don't want your pussy unless you really want to give it to me. Like, I was like, oh, okay, like, okay. And then also a little bit of like tease with like the union members, and there's only so many seats, but then also foreshadowing with, I was captured by them and I got away. But so there's a whole bunch of like breadcrumbs being sprinkled out, but also what I'm getting right now is extremely pleasing. To the point where I'm just like, I will be here.
Yeah. And I like the idea that Andy doesn't know anything because he's literally put a block in his brain. So what that sets up are very straightforward, cool shonen moments where you take the chip out and then go fucking berserk. Like, that's cool. And then on the other side, Fuko and her powers and the way they work, and all the other weirdos who have other weird powers.
Yeah.
That is a recipe for a lot of easy shonen moments that still can feel earned by the audience because you're trying to figure out what the fuck is going on too. So I like what I've seen in the first 2 episodes. The fan service is actually ironically like pretty tame compared to what I thought it was going to be.
Oh, really?
Well, because like, for example, Andy spends most of the first episode naked.
Yeah.
Like totally naked.
Yeah.
But you just stop noticing. After, even though they're like comically covering up his dick and like whatever.
Bruh,
the fact that
my god, I thought they missed like, or I don't know, I'm pretty sure it's not in the manga because we did, but there was a point in the second episode where like he sat Fuko down and she was supposed to like walk away from him, and she like stared up at him, and I was like, is she about to hit him? And I was like, oh my god, she's gonna hit his dick and run away, and she did it. But I laughed just from the possibility of that happening because I was like, they would do something like that. I feel like they would do something like that because they don't give a fuck.
It feels like a very liberated type of show. Like
Yeah.
just liberated to kind of do whatever the fuck it wants to do, very carefree. So that's a good vibe. So I'm with it. Production's on point. Music is pretty good, so I don't really have anything to complain about.
All right. So another one that I watched, I feel like a lot of people are definitely not watching this, but whatchamacallit? The Vexations of a Shut-In Vampire Princess.
I watched some of the first episode and I was like, this is for a very specific audience.
So yes, but boy, oh boy, in the second episode, they gave us like a little bit of glimpse of like what could possibly be coming. Because like two of her whatever subordinates ran into the blue-haired girl from the end of the first episode. And when I tell you it was like on site, like like fighting, it
looked good. The first episode looked like they could support some good action. Animation.
It was good, and I was like, wait a second, these are supporting characters. So she hasn't even she hasn't fought herself yet. The show apparently is very well known for doing something very similar to Undead Unluck, which is like comedy serious. But apparently with this show, like when shit gets serious, shit gets really serious. I am very interested in like, the black spheres and like no one dying permanently, but people still getting killed, etc., etc. What's about to happen in the third episode is about to be fucking insane, fight wise, because from that teaser, it looks like it's about to be a different show. Like from episode 3 going on. Episode 1 and 2 definitely signified a shit ton of comedy, lightheartedness, Yuri, pushing, all that kind of stuff like that, which is completely understandable. But the show has the money to do things, and it is doing them. So I'm sticking around simply just for that. Because I love a good magical girl, or just like girls like throwing down. So yeah. I'm gonna stick around, but I can absolutely see how this is not for the majority of everyone.
It felt very I'm gonna use the word fetishy, but I don't mean it like specifically in like a sexual way, but it's like if you get off on that, on like the aesthetics of like, Victorian maids and all that shit.
And the queen, I was like, big titty queen,
right. Yeah, like, okay, I see it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not mad at it. It's just I was like, yeah, that's for somebody else.
What you will see are the Sakuga clips appearing on Sakugaboro, and that's all.
That's really good. Need. Yeah, that's
all you really need. Because if you're not really interested in the show outside of that, then there's probably not much there, if anything at all, for you, which completely understandable. There's something for everybody this season, though.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about Kami Arabi, because
there's so much that happened. I forgot this one existed.
I was intrigued but worried by the trailer, because a lot of times you get these like CGI anime that are trying to be something else. They're like, oh, there was a video game that was very popular, let's capture this aesthetic, but there's really not a lot of thought put into like what is the basis of the story, and why would anybody sort of choose to tune in the next week. So this is a death game series. The main character, Goro, is like very much a typical weak-willed anime protagonist who's dragged into something. But one of the things I liked about it from jump is that while like he is that trope, his friend Yutaka, the one with like the sharp teeth that's in the trailer, is, you meet him very quickly, and this is what I was talking about, how like having some characters with opposite character traits that are constantly in scene to bounce off of can really rescue a grating setup to a story. So right away, that relationship between Yutaka and Goro is very much like, man, I get why they're friends, but I also don't get why Yutaka is such a psychopath. So the very first scene, he's outside on the roof asking Goro to videotape him as he pretends to commit suicide, but he's not really doing it. He's actually trying to freak Goro out, and succeeds. But then through a chain of events that Goro doesn't understand, he winds up releasing the video. And they explain a little bit later, like this was not an
Why?
accident.
Yeah.
But because he releases a video, that sort of leads to all of the stuff getting him involved in this death game. So there's a few things about the series that I like, that forget the story. Like, I don't want to get into like that part yet. It's, even though it's 3D, it does the thing I always say that people who want to do like 3D anime should do, is take advantage of the fact that you have a real camera. And so there are many parts of even the first episode that are shot in ways that do that. And you're like, okay, this is there's a style here. Like, for example, there are almost no background characters that are given faces. It's very much like in Persona, when you have a scene and like, yeah, like
big
there's
areas,
exactly. So only like the important characters are really given like any detail, and that again feels like a style choice, not just to be like to save some money, but like it kind of says something about what will happen later, is like who are the chosen ones and who are not the chosen ones. That's the first thing. Second thing is that the effects actually look very, very good in motion, and whoever is designing like the spaces that these characters operate in, they must have taken notes from, oh man, what was the game that came out last year that everyone liked? It was like an anime inspired action game. It was an original. Man, I'm forgetting the name, but
anime inspired action original from last
yeah,
year, 2022?
What was that one?
From 2022?
Yeah, from last year. Man, I'm blanking on the name. It had a very like had like a very red and black vibe, like to all the.
Oh, Scarlet Nexus.
Yes. Whoever was like doing the design was absolutely channeling a lot of like Scarlet Nexus in a good way. So like it doesn't feel totally ripped off. So as far as the story goes, it's your typical like, oh, I got a phone call that from God that said I was the chosen one, and I gotta kill off all the other people who also got the same message, and then whoever's left over gets to basically grant all their own wishes. But it starts with each person being asked what their wish is, and Goro blows it off and basically says like, yeah, I want to get with the hot girl in my class. And then lo and behold, like he wakes up the next morning and she's like inviting that once he's been sort of suspended from school, she decides to go hang out with him at an abandoned arcade, and basically like offers to suck his dick. Like literally, he drops his pants and like is unable to control his body.
What?
And he jerks off in front of her and then runs away. And I was like, oh, that's not what I was expecting to happen. Huh.
What?
Exactly.
What?
Exactly.
What?
And then it turns out that she's also in the death game, and she traps him in a magical area outside of the world. After she kills a random civilian on the street to activate her power, they get into the death game. Then you find out Goro's ability is completely fucking broken. Essentially, he can it's kind of like Undead Unluck. He can change causality to cause certain effects to happen, but what he pays in return is that he has to take on negative karma forever. So like every time he uses his ability, his life gets worse. And all of reality reshapes itself around this new, because so like you see his house and his abusive mom in the beginning, and you're like, oh, okay, they live in a nice middle class house, but his mom's like an alcoholic and an asshole. And then he uses his ability in the first episode in a way he probably shouldn't have. It's like super stupid, and they even say so. And then the second episode, you see his house, and it's like covered in garbage and graffiti, and he's like definitely much poorer now, and like whatever. And it's like it's just permanent. It's like,
oh my god,
yeah. So there's a lot of ideas that it plays with, but like the visual art style feels like a video game, but it feels like a video game I'd actually want to watch the cinematics for, instead of a video game where it's like, this is just cheap and boring. And the music and sound effects are pretty good as well. So it's like, I actually like what they're doing, and it's action heavy, but pretty suspenseful. The main character and the other designs are all feel very unique from each other. And then like, it's not clear totally what all the powers and abilities are. I will say, I'll give this away, that in episode 2, the way Goro gets out of a certain situation is by changing reality so that an individual's body no longer absorbs oxygen, which I thought was like a really cool way out of a problem. And it's like, if you're gonna give me interesting shit like that, where like, it's kind of like a Green Lantern situation where like your only limit of your ability is your mind, and what you can think of, that will make up for maybe like if maybe you're not into the art style or the aesthetic or other things, it's not for thinking people, but I believe the characters are thinking inside of that story. So I liked it. I thought it was like, again, a good show, and maybe it could be very good, but it probably has a floor that's pretty high too. So Kami Arabi, I think, is worth a look, even if you don't wind up picking it up.
That is actually that sounds very interesting. Okay. What else have I watched? Oh my, okay. So I watched Kamino Hashiran, the Deranged Detective. I watched the first 2 episodes. Episode 3 came out today. I can absolutely see how a lot of people are just not interested in this. As someone who watched a good chunk of Moriarty the Patriot, I love it.
That was good. I like Moriarty the Patriot.
Yeah, I love it. It's definitely not as social commentary-y as Moriarty, but this is only the second episode. They've already introduced the supposed big bads and the first crew that they're gonna like cycle through. Like, they basically, what has been presented is that they're going to send different detectives that specialize in different things. So a detective that specializes in tracking and closed room cases, cold cases, things like that. All those people are supposedly going to be sent after him one by one to check if he's actually solving mysteries, because he's not supposed to be solving mysteries because of this world detective order / power. So the main character, the goofy one, whatever, et cetera, goofy main character, but they honestly make it interesting enough to where I want to see his development, because he is the one in the end where at first I was thinking, oh, Kamino Hashiran is going to come through and basically be like, you're all stupid, I'm going to tell you everything, blah, 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 blah. No, they reveal in episode 2 that the main character, or the goofy, like, naive dude, he's going to be the one that has to present the evidence to everyone. So throughout the story, you're going to be going through the same things as like those two are, but he is going to have to put it together himself. Like, Ron is like, I'm not giving you the answers. Like, he's like,
that's a nice little balance.
Yeah, he's like
that.
I've led you to everything, but I'm not giving you the answers. And part of that is also because if he gets caught doing detective work, he's gonna die. Like, they're gonna kill him. Like, they specifically said that. So it's interesting. It's definitely not like woo 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 actiony da 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 da. But the case in the second episode, they got my ass, because I'm thinking, oh, okay, like this, oh, they're going over here because this, and it's like, actually it's this and this, and this goes, and it's, oh shit, got me good. So there are definitely things where you can figure out if you're like actively thinking about the case as you go through the show. But then there are other things that clearly are just only possible, that you only know that if you are in the universe and you're Ron. Like, that's just about it. But I like detective shows in general, or anime detective shows. I do not like real life detective shows because people are crazy. But I like these kind of shows because it's fun trying to figure it out as you go.
Yeah, as long as the mysteries or the deaths or everything else are cool.
Yeah. And the big gimmick is that once he solves the case, he tells the culprit to kill themselves, and they do it. So the main character has been preventing it from happening, but my interest is what happens when he starts to not be able to. Like, is he gonna fail one day and then something else is gonna happen? So blah blah blah. So there's an interesting premise there. Designs are definitely Katekyo Hitman Reborn-esque. Makes me really want to miss it. Makes me really want to remake, or just a continuation, because they didn't finish the manga. And if Bleach got it,
true.
It's not that far of a shot, but yeah, it was interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I can get with it. Quick one for Goblin Slayer 2.
Okay.
I like the dynamic in this season because it's actually really about all the people around the titular Goblin Slayer. They literally, in episode 1, or maybe it's episode 1, they introduce a new Goblin Slayer, but it's literally like a kid who's very inexperienced and doesn't really want to like learn the right way to do things. Remember in the first season, it was all about like trying to communicate to people that goblins are actually dangerous.
A threat,
Like,
yeah.
right. They're not just like these low level things. Like they will fuck you up and they're disgusting and they have plans and blah, blah, blah. So what they did in this season is that not only did they take that established cast and that concept and like invert it. So now we're training a new goblin slayer. And the rub is that the priest girl and that new kid have a beef with each other, or it's really more of a one-sided beef. And so now she has to teach him because what's his name? Something Bold. What's the Goblin Slayer's actual name? Whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I've tried to like communicate with this kid. Woman, why don't you take him out, form a new party? It's going to be you and him, and you're going to get through his thick skull that this shit is not easy. And I like that dynamic because if you can't, if your story basically relies on one gimmick and one character,
yeah,
it'll get old before say go. So switching it up like this is like, okay, now let's see the supporting cast pull their weight in it. And again, production is pretty good, so I'm a fan of what they're doing. Do I think this is like my favorite show of this? No, but
no.
It's like,
it's good.
Again, yeah, and I think it can again reach a little bit higher than where it's at right now if the story goes in a cool direction. So if you were worried that it's just basically torture porn, it's not really. Like it has other things to say and do than just that. So I enjoyed what I watched. I don't know if I'll like check back in until like the end of the season, but It's pretty good.
Returner's Magic.
What do you think?
I like it. The first episode, love the intro, the rah, we're fighting the dragon, cool shit happening. And then they sat back and they were like discussing the state of the world, what has happened so far, blah blah blah, giving us a little bit of insight. And then my whole thing was I thought the dragon beat them, but it wasn't that the dragon beat them, it was just that it was something that they didn't know about. And so they technically won, but they didn't.
They sacrifice everything for nothing.
Yeah, basically for nothing. Yeah, they still lost. So when he went back in time, I knew this was going to be part of it, but at the same time, I kind of wish that the end of the first episode had like ended on a different note, because I definitely was like, he's kind of just like, oh my god, you and you and you and I know you and
right,
yeah, which he needs to do. Like that is very practical. I get it. Second episode, loved it. I was like stunned on these hoes, and he absolutely did it. Laughing at homegirl, like she's like, stop laughing, nigga. Like stop laughing, blah 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 blah, etc etc. I loved how they introduced his power, like inverse magic, etc etc. The specific ways that he uses it, how he's using basic spells, ways that other people are not even thinking of using them. And then, just basically in his head, constantly thinking, okay, this was great. She did great. It's got to be better. Like, how can I make this person better? How can I do this? How can I do that? Blah, blah, blah. So I am very much so interested in seeing where it goes. I want to see how he's going to evolve his magic, because I wanted to know if he had the same level of power that he did when he fought the dragon, and it seems he does. It seems he still has the same level of control and he doesn't have to like retrain, or that's my understanding of it. But based off of the opening, it looks like there's going to be like a few tournament arcs.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that may be the first season covers up to what is effectively like the final part of a tournament arc.
Yeah. I'm okay with that. I enjoy it. I definitely don't think it's going to stand out by any means.
Yeah. And that's what I was worried about when I first saw the promo material, because if you're a reader of the comic, you know that it has a very distinct art style, and I won't say that's the only reason why it stands out, because in fact it is a very good a well delivered story, but I want to go back a little bit to when Tower of God got adapted. And one of the decisions that was somewhat controversial, at least among the manhwa readers at the time, was how they remixed the order of events in season 1, or I guess technically it's season 0, but whatever. I don't want to go down that road. Basically, by taking the first 2 or 3 chapters and putting them at the end of the first season to recontextualize a whole bunch of stuff they showed you. Basically, it's not really a bait and switch, but it's a, unreliable narration based on, for the audience. So basically keep them in suspense or to surprise them. And I kind of wish that they had done something similar here, because I think that they were just going like beat for beat. But I think that if you lose the art style and draw it down to something much more generically animative, maybe it
definitely gives generic.
Yeah, this and Desir's character doesn't really stand out until he starts to interact with a lot of the people that he used to know, because it's through him that you learn a lot about the structure of the world that they're in, and how what you see on the surface is actually very much not what is really going on. And by the way, this is not the only time that time travel affects this story. Right. So there's complexity that's in the story that will be overlooked by a lot of people, because they're looking at it and they're like, well, this looks like your very run-of-the-mill returner tale, and there's a lot more going on. So I worried initially about whether the production would get in the way of people's interest. But I will say that the music is so much better than I would have expected. In fact, the music carries a lot of the second episode, carries a lot of this
flow to do the opening. Oh my god.
Right. So you have a good opening, but then you also have a lot of like melodic overworld themes that are very melancholic. And it does, like, when I read it, I read it as, okay, this is going to be like an action manhwa, and it's that, but there's a lot more to it. But I never really thought about like what would the musical accompaniment do to like the interpretation of that source material. And I can tell you that you watch the first 3 episodes, it really hits home just how much like Desir's character is in shock at continually running into people he cared for very deeply who don't know anything about him. It's a very common trope. It's not an unusual thing in these types of stories. But I think
they managed to elevate it in a way.
Yeah, they managed to elevate it where you're like, man, that actually fucking sucks. Because he's constantly like, fuck, man, this is my best friend. This is somebody I shared so much with. This is the woman of my life. And then like can't say shit or really can't do anything. And I think because it tones down how much of an asshole his character could be minus that context. Because there's nothing I personally hate more than that trope of like the returner character who knows everything and is because he's such
just stunts on everyone.
Yeah, and like is like, either on purpose or inadvertently a smartass about literally everything. But then when you add that layer of like, I won't say depression, but like deep emotional longing that can't be reciprocated by anybody, then his character becomes like, there's 2 layers to it, and he's a little more sympathetic, even if like you look at him as like there's nothing that makes him stand out, especially from any other anime protagonist that has like a similar design. Like it's the same shit. So I've said a lot of words. What I really want to say is that I do enjoy it, and I think that episode 2 and 3 fill out more of what you can expect from the show.
Okay.
And it's good. It's good stuff. Okay. That's a good one. Next on my list, real quick, is Under Ninja. I wanna just give the obligatory warning that it's a weird fucking show, but it's actually a lot more like a slice of life show than it is a kind of like action
ninja. Yeah, noir. Yeah.
So in the very first episode, one of the things that we learn is that this is definitely like an alt history. So in this alt history, things kind of played out like the way they have in our world. The only difference is that like ninja were a known thing and they were a big deal during World War II, but ultimately like, Japan lost and whatever. And so in the modern day, being a ninja is like you're kind of unemployed. Like there's still things for ninjas to do, and ninjas have abilities, and
But
it's
they're
like
just
a big,
all in Japan for some reason.
yeah,
Like
they're all
not
in
spread out.
Japan, and it's hard if you are a ninja with a clan, like you basically get like charity work. You have like a caseworker. Um, and so most of the first episode is kind of based on what it's like to live as a poor person in Japan. Um, I would say like not half, maybe like a third of it is like the main character like living hand to mouth in a crappy apartment with like no air conditioning, like splitting it with like his neighbor and like just waiting to get jobs. But he's also a really amazing like ninja, and
Yes.
like he's actually really good, but he also like desperately needs work. And so
And that's the
there's a
only
lot
way
of,
he's gonna get work through that. Yeah.
yeah, and there's a lot of jumping around in near time, like not like going like years in advance, but like something that happened like a week ago. You'll see
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, his handler getting a job and being like, man, like I hate my fucking job. There's also a crazy in the first episode they introduced this. There's also obviously people know what ninjas are. So there's like a foreigner character who wants to come to Japan to become a
Ninja.
ninja. And yes, he's just like like you can just tell like it's a caricature of like the foreigner
Yes.
who comes, yeah, like there's a lot of social
With the
commentary,
fucking samurai sword umbrella.
right,
Like
right, and the whatever the immigration officer's like, there could be ninjas in this room right now. He's like, really, what is it, the old lady? So I don't know how seriously to really take the series, but like it's clearly very well thought out, and there's a
yes.
lot more hand drawn animation than you would guess from the trailer. So it
Oh,
actually looks pretty good,
I
especially when
don't
they have
really
to do,
even notice when they like swap in and out. Like it doesn't really jar. It's not jarring.
yeah, it's like it's used more as like an aesthetic than it is necessarily all cost saving or whatever. So there's a lot, again, like the hand drawn stuff is looks good, and then when it's like overlaid with CG and this like grainy washed out like color palette of everything, it all just feels very like depressingly mundane and normal.
It
It's
has
not
like
like
a
this,
yellow piss,
exactly,
but
it's a,
it works.
it makes everything feel like dirty,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
everything
yeah,
is
yeah.
just like kind of grungy and like
Mm-hmm.
not pleasant to be around. And
Yeah, not pleasant. It's like yeah, not pleasant. Because that's what I
so
get
like,
when I think about it. When I'm looking at it, I'm like, I feel like there's a filter of filth like over
yeah, like
the
just dirt
lens.
or grime.
Yeah.
uh and like the and again, the world is one that is definitely set up to be a parody, but like a light parody of the real world.
Yeah.
And so every, it feels like, what was it, the guy running around talking about drinking breast milk in the second episode? It's
Man,
like,
okay. I'm just it's confused is the name of the
yes,
game.
but he's
There
like
are
chasing
so many times where
children.
I'm confused with
It's
the it's like
Mr. Breast Milk. Who the fuck is
with the
Mr. Breast
breast
Milk?
pump, with the little
Yeah,
like the portable breast pump. I don't know.
yeah,
But then also it went from that to like really good hand-to-hand combat
yes,
choreography. To the
yes.
point where like I was like niggas getting their fucking bones like snapped and cracked. I was
Yeah, I need to look up who the director for this was, because they know what they're doing.
Yeah, it wasn't just like ninja. They were like boom, boom, like block, do swap this. When he ran, I thought he was going to use Homegirl's arm as
Yes.
like a thing. I yelled at the TV. I was like, yo, it's crazy. It's crazy, but it's
It's hard to
good.
describe. Like, this is something that like I really enjoy watching every episode. I couldn't imagine like having to do like a live reaction for it, or to really
I'm
describe
confused
what I
the whole
witnessed
time.
afterwards.
Yeah. I'm just like,
I don't
what the
know.
fuck was that? What is
It
going on? Who is
so I'll
that?
just say this. It's very weird, but I think it's special. But I don't
Yes.
know how to recommend it to anybody other than just like witness it. Like witness what this is, and if you also feel that it's
I'd say
special,
what, maybe like Fully Cooley mixed with Paranoia Agent.
that's a very good, yeah, that's a very, with like some actual like good violence.
Yeah. Like what's call it? The out well, no, it's not the same level of like Hitori, like combat. Like it's not like that. It's not like that. It's not like that. But yeah, like when I think about like, you know, wackiness mixed with like creepiness, I'm thinking like those two. Because I guess those are more accessible as far as like American audiences go, anime wise. So I would say, yeah, if I were recommending it to somebody, like, have you seen that? Have you seen this? Yeah, it's kind of like that, but like it's not really. But like you'll see
it's because it's not stylized at all. That's the real reason. Like everything is like very grounded until you get to the wackier parts, and so it's like hard to like put even in words.
The fucking like bra, like it was. I did not expect that gag. The fact, okay, so you got the neighbor wearing it, and it's like, all right, whatever, blah blah blah. Then he tells the story of the little kid stealing the bra with a fucking drone. And I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden you get like further into the episode, and then the main character just shows up in the bra, just like, I'm
just fucking around, bro.
It feels. He got
nothing else to do. What is he doing?
Yeah, it's confusion. I'm confused, but I'm also entertained. I am very entertained.
I am very confused, and I am also very entertained.
Yeah, but to be honest, the second episode just solidified it so much for me, because the fact that homeboy was going around chopping niggas' dicks off just so he can meet a ninja, I was like, I do not understand this. But the fact that homeboy had a fake hot dog wiener waiting for him, and then did the backflip on that nigga, and the only way that he could respond after getting murked was like, I gotta get a gun. I gotta get a gun out. I gotta get a gun. Like, it's
just fucking silly, but silly in ways that like I think it's my kind of humor, but I can't explain it.
If it's for you, it's for you. Like it's fucking for you. Yeah.
Also, the way they be shaving, like every character in the series has like such a shitty life, and if niggas be just like telling people about themselves. It's crazy.
The drunk girl on the fucking bottom floor.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
I don't know. It's weird. What can I say?
It's weird, but it's good. I like it. I'm glad I gave it a try, because if I had stopped watching that trailer at the very beginning, I would have been like, I am not watching this.
I told you that was my vibe. I was like, okay, I watched the first one. I was like, maybe. And then I was like, oh no. And then I got like the 45 seconds. It was like, oh yes.
I like it. I mean, I think do I have anything else before?
I got two more, and they're the big ones for me anyway.
Oh yeah, I only have one more, and it's the big one for me. Oh wait, no, the two more. Yeah, I have two more too. The big ones.
Okay, so go for it, yeah.
Okay, this nigga Sid, I hate him.
I hate this nigga so fucking much.
The fact for the past 2 episodes, he's been repeating. He's been repeating what homegirl said to him in the first episode. The moon is coming. Every time he shows up in front of people, he keeps repeating the fucking phrase.
Same thing.
It's the same thing,
I was dying when he like has that moment. He's like, man, what the fuck am I doing here? And then he runs into is it like Elizabeth or whatever?
Yeah.
And she drops that line, and then he has like a mental freak. He's like, this is it. I get to be the weird cryptic guy during the zombie apocalypse. Man,
and says it to everybody, like
everybody, including back to Elizabeth. You motherfucker.
That's the thing.
Oh man,
I love it. Like I'm like, this nigga's not saying this shit again. Like he just the moon is red, the night is among us. I'm like, it was like, god, bro. It's so. I
fell out of my chair laughing at the end of the last episode. I'm not gonna lie. When he one shots the boss, like, but he's like, oh wait, no, I wanted more.
It's so good. The fact that so I liked how
we're talking about Eminence in Shadow season 2.
Yeah, Eminence in Shadow. Yeah, if you don't know, my god. So the way it started back off, I was like, okay, whatever, they're all meeting with him, blah, 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 blah. Then he said that shit about them stinking, but it wasn't about them, and all them freaked out, blah, blah. We get to the city, and it's immediate, like, just boom, just like boom. And I really appreciated that. I really appreciated that they didn't do like 2 episodes of we're going to the lawless city, we're going to
nope, they just were right there. Don't
By the
waste
end
time.
of the first episode, niggas was getting necks ripped out. We got introduction to the 2 biggest players in the city who are super cool, super stylized, like the Nine-Tailed Fox, the black like berserker
Juggernaut
nigga, Juggernaut,
dude,
yeah. We got the sister cradling a dead head.
Then not realizing it wasn't him,
and then throws the shit away.
She's like, get the shit out of my face. What the fuck is this?
To the end of the first episode, which was just so Sid, where he just drops down in the middle of everyone, and it's just like the night is red.
Okay, so I have so many thoughts because this is again one of the, I think I know people like Eminence and Shadow, it's very popular. I think it is underrated as far as the depths of comedy.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's tragically underrated. Because one of the fun things about the entire series from season 1 till now is how much space it gives for all of the female supporting cast to have their own story. Like completely sincere, completely like, you know, connected with shared continuity, where you see one character doing something, having conversations that leads to another thing they're doing, and more conversations. But it's happening somehow both in the foreground and in the background at the same time, and gags will continue over multiple seasons and still be just as funny, or they'll remix it. So if you remember at the end of the last season, you had like those 2 fighters
the 2 girls
from the tournament. Also the 2 girls. Yes.
But the 2 fighters, yes.
Right.
That talk the most shit.
Right, but the whole point of them showing up was actually to set up the second gag with that gatekeeper guy. Yeah. Like that was the reason they were there was actually to set up another joke, even though they got chumped out as well. Like that shit's hilarious. The all the stuff with Claire. Funnily enough, I'd forgotten about this, about how she's also one of the cursed girls.
Oh, right? Because of what happened in the first episode? No,
the second episode. I totally forgot that like she was also one of them.
Because I'd always been like, they put the Diablo blood in her while he was experimenting with her.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I'd forgotten that she has a completely independent motivation to be the way she is around her brother. Because like that was just something that was done in the story. I didn't forget about it. So when she was talking to Elizabeth about how, okay, I know that I'm like cursed and you can't undo this fucking curse, but at the very least I could like make something out of my younger brother because I'm not going to survive. I was like, oh, okay. Even though she's still, it's a gag.
Overbearing,
and she's overbearing and everything else. Actually, this makes a lot of sense. So when her and Elizabeth go together, they're just on their own thing. Like,
not focused on Freezing Shadow, all this like shit like that. Like, yeah, it's all their own independent storyline.
You know, they're like the Elizabeth then coming out as being a vampire and like stealing the kiss and doing all that stuff. Like that's just them.
Kiss and
that's just them. Like it has nothing to do with anything. Like they're having their own story, I guess is what I'm saying, is like that happens all over the series. They run into like Beta, who's in the same spot. The whole thing in episode 1 with Sid's like, he doesn't know anything about what's happening in that city, but he's like, oh, this looks like fun. I'll go over there.
He's
and they're reading into it like, and what was it? Was Beta the one who was like writing the stories? Like, oh, Sid's going.
She was writing her next novel. Wild and yes.
And like just orgasming at the thought of all that shit. I was like, this is hilarious. How could anyone not understand how funny this fucking show is?
Because I feel like the only people who do not understand how funny it is are the people who are trying to take it seriously.
Yeah, it's
like
not.
If you are trying to take this show seriously, you are missing out. This is not serious. There's no life lesson. This nigga's playing around.
I'm sorry, I was saying Elizabeth. I meant Mary. Mary is the
Mary. Okay.
Yeah, Elizabeth is the prostitute. We don't know what's happening with her.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the one he saved in the first.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, but Elizabeth's voice actor is yours voice actor.
Oh, so she's definitely gonna be important.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, but they're all gonna, you know, that's what this is. It starts about all these girls trying to figure out like what the fuck happened to them. Like that's actually what Eminence and Shadow is about. Sid doesn't even know what the fuck is happening. He's like, what is the coolest thing I could do right now?
He's literally dreaming up a Dragon Quest like like scenario in his head of how he wants it to go, and then goes for it, and it's amazing. I honestly, the second episode was so fucking good, from her sucking her blood through her lip, and like the Yuri shit, to
they were like, yeah, let's do it, let's go,
to sit to the Juggernaut dude bitching them out.
Yes.
I was like, oh, Sid's gonna show up and save. No, he's not. They had to get hurt, and then Sid showed up, and then we find out Sid didn't even know his sister was in there. He just was fucking with homeboy.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
oh, you here? Oh, okay, okay. All right.
He's like, I didn't even know my sister was here. But anyways, about this treasure. So this one, and it's
oh great. Yeah, that part where he was like, I just want money. Give me the money. Who cares? It's going.
Well, he can easily have all the money he wants, but he just doesn't want to get it from the girl. So it's that stuff. But I'm also looking, and also how they're already foreshadowing the progenitor coming back and being like the big thing that he's going to have to deal with. So phenomenal return to form. Like, did not drop the ball.
Nope, got right to the jokes. They said immediately.
Immediately was right, nigga, we did not have a break. We're back. No, it was so good. It was so good. And that's all I have to say about that nigga. Because my God, I know he's gonna do it again. I feel like he's gonna say that phrase to homegirl when she wakes up.
Oh my God, I want to know what phrase will he pick to replace that. I love how that.
Because the moon's gonna go away. The bread moon's gonna go away.
Right, and all these supporting characters we're getting that like know about him. He has no idea who anybody is. No. He don't know what's going on. Just
the fact that homegirl still doesn't know that Sid is Shadow, even though she's been in Shadow Garden for a minute now. I'm assuming
it's the funniest thing ever. She got all hot and bothered. She's like, "Wait, Sid, what happened to Sid?" It's like, bro, you got.
And Beta's like, "Bitch, get in line." The fuck?
Shut up. What are you doing? Okay.
And then the gag with the two little girls being there, like last season.
Yes.
She's like, "You two supposed to watch her." Homegirl got food in her mouth, like,
this is a joke. Okay, it was really good animation and great music. So all right. So for me, my number one new thing that I'm loving, Shangri-La Frontier.
This shit is so good. This is my shit. I have joy while I'm watching this show because I play too many video games, but once he got into the damn game and is just going and going and going and going, the game elements, the world building, and bitch, the action, and this is too core.
Good. I'm eating. I don't know what everyone else.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's lighthearted where it needs to be. Lighthearted / comedic where it needs to be. Also setting up, like, by the end of this third episode, I was like, I know where we're going. But also this shit, it's fun. It's so much fucking fun to watch. I love it.
Yeah, it's so we knew that, at least from the production standpoint, that this was going to be, a pretty serious entry this season. I didn't need to know necessarily a lot about what the core of the story would be to be bought in just off rip. I think we learned from episode 1 that from a story construction point of view, I'm not saying this is perfect, but I just want other like lighthearted series like this to kind of take note about how to present something new and compelling and not get lost in a bunch of bullshit. The first thing I want to point out, there are a very small number of characters. Small. That means that the main relationship between Rei and Rakuro, aka Rakuro's son Raku in the game. Let's call him Son Raku because everyone does. But the girl, Rei, that's the core of the story. Everything else that happens around that is the adventure, the learning about the game, whatever else, is just supposed to get us with them together at some point.
Yes.
Because the whole reason she started playing was to impress him when he came over to the game, and the reason he's playing is because he's been punishing himself with these horrible games for years, but they don't know where each other are in the game.
Yeah.
So the journey that both will take, mostly focusing on Rakuro's character moving through the game and her kind of like chasing after him and hearing about the stuff that he did, right away you know what you want to see at the end, which is them get together in the real world. Second, Sunraku in the game looks like a degenerate. That's what I was kind of wondering when we saw the trailer. Like, is this guy just a fucking pervert, or like, why is he doing this?
Yeah.
No, it's
very practical gamer choices.
Exactly, and it turns out that way, and then things occur along the way to fuck with him, as we.
But also the fact that his choices are reinforced by other players. Like when those first two players see him running because of the poison, and the girl's like, why is he dressed like that? And he's like, oh, he probably sold his equipment in the beginning to get a little bit more extra money. And I'm like, oh, like just continuity.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a basic logic behind everything that occurs. Whether it is like realistic is up to your interpretation.
Yeah.
But if you're a gamer, a real gamer, not like, because I had this conversation with somebody outside of our podcast here, which is a friend of mine who was also watching the same show, and we both had the same thought, which is like, Shangri-La Frontier is a game we would actually want to play.
Yes.
Unlike literally hundreds of other stories that present a game that is supposed to be very popular and good, but when you watch it, you're like, why would anybody play this shit? Why would they do this? This doesn't look fun. It doesn't look like it was well made. It's a death trap, or it's like some other thing, some psychopathic whatever. And I've come to the conclusion that a lot of these authors that write these like VR MMO games don't actually like video games. They don't actually like them.
They just want to find the quickest way to get them overpowered.
Right. And I think that in this story, the writers love video games.
Yes. Bruh, my main thing was, I want to know how this game works. From the moment he launched it, I was like, I want to know how this game works. I want to know, is this a level up thing? Is this a class thing? Is this like a skill? If it's skill, is it based off of how many times you use the skill? Or is it based off of, what kind of weapon you're using? Can you only get certain things? Is there durability cost? It's all in there. It's all in there.
It's the first time since Log Horizon that I was like, I would genuinely be interested in the game they are playing.
So you know what? That is an amazing analogy, because one of the main reasons that I stuck with Log Horizon was because of how well they developed the game in universe.
Yes, exactly.
That was one of the main, because I was so interested in all the mechanics and things, because they kept adding on slowly. It wasn't just like,
yep, that's right,
first season we know everything there is about the game, like,
but they all mattered.
Yes,
everything mattered to the way challenges would be resolved, to the whether it's combat or even whether it's stuff classes, like all the like equipment, the people of the land stuff, which then was a big part of the second season.
Yeah,
like, that system, these game systems that look like they were designed in a mind of someone who A, knew how to make a game, and also B, liked video games. Whereas a lot of these other games, like, I don't want to pick on the SAOs of the world unnecessarily, but they're more of a setting. It's not that the game, and they'll write their way through it to be like, oh well, an AI made this or some shit like that. It's like, okay, well, fine, but what was made sucks. I wouldn't play this. Nobody would play this. This is shit.
Honestly, that is basically it's honestly, it's a nice analogy to what we're going through, where like in their universe, they just have a shit ton of nice looking games.
Yes.
That suck to fucking play.
Yes. Our main character's whole reason to exist in this world is that he wants to play and destroy horrible games, and finally he's given a game that does not suck. And what I really loved was, if you are somebody who is a gamer, exactly, like, look at the Elden Ring phenomenon, where you got people like going in with no armor on, perfect parrying their way through the whole game. It's hard. Most people don't do that, but it's a thing that you can actually see done in real life with very punishing video games. So then to have that brought to life in a very visually appealing, well-designed shonen type scenario, like it just feels good. You feel like you're being rewarded for watching all the things that are happening. Like I want to see what happens when he get with this. I want to see when he goes up against whatever.
Yeah, like when he got the new knives, I was like, what about the old knives? Are they not going to use them anymore? Did
He
you sell
busted them
them?
shits out.
Blah, blah, blah.
It's episode 3.
And also my favorite, and it just reaffirms me how much I love this show, because when he got into the game and I saw him allocating those stacks, I was like, he's doing a glass cannon build. He's making himself a glass cannon. And then in this episode, he's like, fuck, I made myself a glass cannon. And I'm like, yes,
but I had
you did.
to, right? Because then there's no point in having any HP because you can't wear any armor because you got fucked. But also, he loses. It's important to have a story where there are stakes, where you can actually see your main character fail, which is another thing that like many stories, not just like
they're afraid to let them fail.
Yes, or create conditions where failure is possible, and therefore you don't know what could happen. You know, he says it himself when he's fighting against that wolf shit. It's like, this isn't an anime where the power of fucking friendship or someone's
gonna show up. Yes.
But then he like resolved in a very over the top, absurd way. He has set a goal for himself in this game that's the result of things that we saw happen. We watched all of his progression up to that point, and then when he's like, "You're my fucking target now, bitch." Like, it felt good, even though you knew he was gonna lose. You're like, yeah, that's right. I'm gonna see your ass again.
And you know what made me even more excited? When they were like, there's 7 of these motherfuckers.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, yeah.
I actually want to watch this motherfucker perfect parry and critical 7 big ass monsters like I would do if I was watching a Twitch playthrough of some really good player.
And I like the fact that he was just like, the skill that you have is unfair, but it was coded into you, so there is a way to overcome it.
Yeah, that was a great point. What was the exact line? He was like, I've realized that like you're as strong as the programmers want you to be.
Yes.
And I was like,
so there is a way to overcome.
There's a way to do it.
Yes.
Which makes sense, because what was his background? Playing a bunch of shitty games where the all things were unfair. Right. Yes. So him seeing fairness for the first time, lighting a fire under his ass, is so much more interesting than some like, because I always wonder this, like, if you ever watch the VR games where it's like the authors want the character to have a moment of, you know, of understanding where they decide. It's like every story, every protagonist has a moment where they make the choice to change. And the reason why they do it has to be like something happened in the story. Oh, my girlfriend was kidnapped or killed, or, oh, you know, we're in peril, or, oh, I saw, like, there's usually this moment. But in like these VR game stories, like, it's a fucking video game. I've very rarely had anything close to experience where I'm like, yo, this shit in the game, it like made me feel so bad. I had to whoop this nigga's ass. When it happens, it's a transcendent experience. But for the most part in these stories, I don't believe that shit. Why the fuck do you care about some fucking pixels? Like, get the fuck out of here. But this time I was like, yeah, that's right, motherfucker. We gonna see your ass. Maybe the end of the season, but we gonna find you.
We gonna find you, and we gonna get you. And this is only one arc, continuous storyline, et cetera, et cetera. So there's that. They introduced the guilds that like literally only exist to hunt those monsters. None of them have been killed. None of them have been killed. But also I really like the fact that he said he hit over like 200 crits.
Yeah, bro.
That motherfucker's health, like, he was like, I don't even know your health, but I feel like he's not getting hurt. So now it's all about, you know, what's the next step? Like, how we powering up? What do you need to go fight? What kind of equipment can you do? Also, I liked how they gave us the description of the curse, because I was like, that's going to help you beat that nigga in some form or fashion, but you have to know how to capitalize off of it.
Right.
So
I like that. I like the designs. I think there's a lot of designs that are there for like gags, the little toad thing, the whatever. But one of the great, this is like, again, little writing trick, right? If we're gonna learn about a world from the vantage point of a character, having that character be somebody or in a situation where they don't know anything is important. But it's very difficult to manufacture that in a lot of stories, because you also have to believe this character exists in the world. Like, that's why it's so common to have amnesia tropes or other things like that, because it creates
so we can learn with you.
Exactly. And that's also a problem in some stories where they don't do that. And then you're sitting there wondering, like, why the fuck would there be this exposition to explain like how water comes out of a faucet? You know what I mean? Like if you had said that to another person, so you turn, so in order to get something to drink, you have to like turn this faucet, and then a liquid comes out. It's called water. If you said that in real life, people are like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You have lived on this earth for 15, 20, 25, 30, 50. No one would have that conversation, right? But you have to have them in these storylines. By having the Sunraku character be driven by a pathological desire to get stronger in a video game, but do it in the way he wants to, and therefore skip all of the normal tutorial, it allows then the game to drip feed information in a way that feels a lot more natural to what the character is experiencing, rather than like, could you imagine like a wall of text in the beginning where they have to explain, okay, this is what every stat does, this is what, like, because that's what you would do if like we're going through the tutorial mode. I'm
like
saying
every 2 steps you'd stop.
Bro, I have read so many manhwa that are all these like VR games. They're all the same. They get to the point where like the authors just stop explaining anything because they're literally just copy pasting the scenario from other stories, and it's so fucking lazy. Whereas like in this story, I'm enjoying learning about the game through the fucked up like skipping of information that the main character is doing, because then when he realizes something, it feels like a power-up. It feels like, oh wait, you can parry shit, like it feels like that's the equivalent of like the shonen power-up, but everything he's doing is within the context of the game world, and it would make sense that everyone else or many people already know how to do it. He just doesn't know. So those reveals are meaningful rather than just being exposition that you then have to remember like 5 episodes later, because like that's why he was able to use the skill. It's like, no, give it to me from the vantage point of the main character.
He literally just perfected this skill, and it came right in time, and we got the description, and now we back at it. Like, that's it.
I guess the last thing is in episode 3, we meet the rabbit village, the Vorpal bunny, and I love the reveal of like the boss bunny, because that looks sick.
Well, I was kind of like side-eyeing it because the little bunny called him daddy, and it was like, "Ooh, boss," and I was like, "Is he the fucking daddy of everyone in that damn village?" Because rabbits, it might be
because they're rabbits. He had the rabbit girls, like, but they were just rabbits. They were not like, they weren't like drawn sexy. It was just actual rabbits that were pink. So,
and then they also were minting Vorpal Soul, and I'm like, okay, like here we go. Like, give me more. Give it to me. Give me the things that have been missing since Sword Art Online season 1. Like, give it to me.
You know, that's a great observation, because this feels like what people thought SAO could be in the first like 3 episodes. You're like, oh, it's a cool game. We're gonna learn the game. It's gonna be motherfucker.
No,
it's a weird
time skip,
weird like family play where like
family with the AI. We time skipped so that in the event that this is successful, we can make a movie out of the time that we skipped.
Get this shit the fuck out of here. Get it out of here. I mean, I pick on Reki Kawahara too much. Like, I do. Like,
what happened to Excel World? I like that.
No patience. No fucking patience. But anyway, I think that I will be sweating every episode of Shangri-La Frontier this season, because that's like between this and Eminence, like this is what I want to watch. I want to watch it. The fact
that Shangri-La comes out at like 3-4 a.m. or whatever, like first thing on Sunday, let me watch that shit. Let me watch that shit. Let me watch that shit. I gotta get to it. Let me watch that shit. Amazing. So amazing. Okay. Wow, all right. Hey. Now don't expect to hear about the majority of those, you guys.
Hell no.
Going forward, we might sprinkle in, a little bit here and there, but we will for sure be on Eminence and Shangri-La on the weekly. Like,
I want to see your JJK catch up, because there's some stuff, man.
Oh God. Okay, yeah.
There's some stuff.
That's the next thing coming for me. News wise, I feel like the only thing that I saw recently, there are a lot of PVs coming out that I'm actually really liking for 2024. But what do you think of this new Dragon Ball project?
I had a thought. My very clear thought was, so we're just like we're just like we're taking all the parts of Dragon Ball GT that everybody complained about, and that's our new series.
Oh.
That's your big idea. It wasn't worth it, bro. Like, okay, I am not one of those people who, if I'm not gonna wind up watching it or enjoying it, then I'm like just gonna shit on a project.
No, you're gonna check it out. I feel like you're definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah, I'll give it a look. But like, I think that people, and when I say people, I'm just talking about Western English speaking Westerners, have got to understand that like what Japan loves about Dragon Ball is not the same shit that we love.
True.
Okay.
True.
They have to understand this because
and they cater to them.
Right. Because when you ask yourself, why do these things that I don't like keep happening? It's because it's not about you.
It's not about us.
You know, what does Japan love? Japan loves Goku. They love Goku so much. They also like Vegeta a lot as well. But like, it's pretty much that. That's what Dragon Ball is over there. Like the scale of money that you make when you like print a Goku thing or do a Goku thing in Japan compared to the United States is lights out, orders of magnitude different. What do us, like, you know, 80s 90s babies want? We want Trunks. We want like all these other things.
Get Super Saiyan something like,
right, that's what we want, because that's what was cool to us when we were like 15 and 16 years old. It was always Goku in Japan. I'm sorry to break that news to everybody. So when I saw the trailer for this, and I was like, oh, they put the money into this. Of course Japan would do that. Why the fuck would they do it? I don't think it'll suck, but I don't think it's gonna give people what they in this region what they want, and therefore it's gonna get relentlessly shit on. But it does make me laugh that like when GT came out, the thing that everybody fucking complained about was that they de-aged Goku, and they were telling a side story that had nothing to do with the things that are happening like on Earth or whatever else. And what is Dragon Ball Diamond? It's just all the main popular characters de-aged, telling a pointless story that, you know, if it's canon, it's canon. But like, you know, it's like the same thing you were talking about with SAO, where it's like, oh, there's a missing year, so we could just like stick shit in there. Like, I feel bad if anyone who thought this was gonna be like the new Super. You played yourself. I mean, it wasn't. I don't want to fucking tell you, bro.
The new Super is not going to get anywhere near the budget that this is going to get.
Which doesn't make any sense, but I'm going to keep that. I'm going to hold that. Hold it. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, that's like there are probably other big news things, but I haven't really been looking at the news for the most part. But I saw that and I was like, oh, I need to know. I need to know.
I guess like the Golden Kamuy live action, I think unironically maybe one of the better anime to get that kind of treatment. Like it may actually work as well in live action as the anime. So
yeah, I can see that working.
So that's really all I got there.
Okay. As far as recommendations, so this is not done airing, so it's probably gonna get way better shit. Oh my god, they did what we did not think they were going to do, and it was fucking phenomenal. So remember how I said they're doing like the Pretty Cure like 20th anniversary thing, where they made like a mini series of one of the most popular season girls like aged up to adults.
right.
So they did it. First episode came out, you know, stuff was going awry, blah blah. They met up randomly, but they were all adults, so like it was way more like, let's go get drunk, like, bitch, I'm poor, like I don't have time for this.
Is crazy.
Episode 2, they literally were like, yes, this is Pretty Cure, boom boom boom. And what I did not think, everybody was like, we don't think they're going to transform, not only so they transformed, but they did a time skip backwards. So when they transformed back to their teenage self. And then they did the best Sakuga the series has ever seen.
That's amazing. This is a 40-year anniversary?
20-year anniversary.
20-year anniversary, yeah.
When I tell you, that bitch beat the shit out of like breaking concrete, like punched the monster, broke the concrete under it, and just kept It was crazy. Episode 2. It was so like my mouth was like open. I was like, this is all we want. Or this is all I want. That's what I love. This is what I love about Pretty Cure. Went the fuck in. It was amazing. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. So now, and they only did it with one girl. So now I'm expecting every single girl.
You're waiting for the next one.
I'm waiting for every single girl to get her like 20-year Sakuga scene of just
that's
like
crazy
going the fuck off. It was so good.
I wish some of the series from like my 2000s era would get that kind of a remake treatment.
Well, that was so the thing though, like this
expansion.
This whole series was literally like a crapshoot for them to basically be like, what would happen if we mix Dragon Ball with Sailor Moon? And it worked. Like it worked. But the thing was, there was always varying levels of one or the other, because at the end of the day, it's still heavily marketed to girls or like little kids because they make the majority of the money off of the toy sales. But a whole bunch of your like favorite animators and shit like that, they animate specific fight scenes and shit in Pretty Cure episodes.
Oh, right, that's true. That is true.
They fuck around.
Nakamura has a bunch of Pretty Cure credits.
They come to Pretty Cure to fuck around and just try new shit.
That's awesome.
And so that's why a lot of older people got into it, because they were like, what the fuck is going on over here? And then you stick around. So like you don't stick around on an episode by episode basis, but when shit goes down, shit goes down. But this was the epitome of like, this is why I watch this shit. Like this is amazing. Like they put everything into it. It was so good. It was so good. And ironically, the same person who had animated that, the last weekend they had animated something on the current season of Pretty Cure, and that animation was pretty good. But it wasn't like that long. This was long. Like this was a sequence. Like she was fucking niggas up. It was so good.
Gotcha.
It was so good. So what is it? A Power of Hope, Pretty Cure, Full Bloom. Yes, it's Pretty Cure. Yes, it's girly. Episode 2, she was so good. It was so good. I wasn't expecting it. So that's my recommendation for the week. Go just watch that. It's near the end of the episode. Just go watch it. It's so good.
Great. So I've got a double recommendation, but they're both short, so hopefully they combine to something. Both manhwa, both relatively new, out in the last like 4 or 5 months. Both very different from each other.
Is this one of the ones you sent me earlier?
Yeah. So I'll start with the one I didn't send you. Okay. So there's a series called Hellcraft, and the premise is that the main character, his name is Yom Sung-gi. He is like a very bullied shut-in. His father is very wealthy, but he had recently sort of betrayed his mother, his biological mother, to get with a floozy, and ran the other woman out the house. He sort of treats his son pretty bad, and then Yum Sung-gi is getting bullied at school aggressively because he's rich, and so people know that they can get money out of him by like treating him like shit. So he basically responds to this by becoming a shut-in and becomes obsessed with this not an online game, but just like a local video game that's very much like Minecraft, but instead of like, imagine like Minecraft and Dungeon Keeper, if you ever played Dungeon Keeper, where you have to like build a dungeon. So it's the same way where you build in a Minecraft like environment, like elaborate torture dungeons.
Oh boy, here we go.
Little does he know that this is actually not exactly a game, but
he's helping people build this shit.
A portal to hell. And he is selected by Baphomet to be his human contractor to build the most exquisite dungeon in order to punish sinners.
Of course.
And so as a side bet or a side advantage, Yom Sung-gi gets the ability to sentence people who commit the sin that he selected for his dungeon to eternal punishment. And so at first he thinks that like, oh, okay, I can finally get revenge on all the people that treated me bad. Little does he know that Baphomet is actually in a contest with other contracted demons, all of whom have their own contractors, all of whom grant those contractors a similar ability to send people to their hells in a death game in order to become the ruler of a new level of hell. And so our main character finds out after the fact that if he doesn't figure out a way to trap the other dungeon contractors using his special sin that he chose for his dungeon and also Baphomet's abilities in real life, he will die, especially if Baphomet dies. And so there's basically like a 2-level death game happening where the demon who has contracted him is in a death game with the other demons, and then the contractor himself on the ground in the real world is in a death game with the other contractors. And the game is really trying to figure out what are the conditions of every other contractor's ability such that they don't commit the sin that they are empowered by, which would then cause them to get killed instantly and on the spot. And so that actually leads to a bunch of really creative situations where the main character has to use his intelligence to guess at and, I guess, corral his opponents into making mistakes that then allow him to kill them. And there's a lot of rules about like how you could do it. Like, you know, you have to be at close range, you have to line of sight. They have to actually, you have to witness them committing the sin in question. Otherwise, it doesn't matter if they were like horrible people in real life. If they don't do that sin against you, it doesn't count. So you can't get them. So there's all kinds of ways that like everyone is like lying to each other about their abilities and, you know, to forming alliances, betraying people.
Is there a way to recognize other contractors?
They're on a very limited basis, and even that in and of itself is an ability that certain people have.
Okay.
So there's a lot of really interesting psychological warfare and strategy that all the players are engaged in at the same time. Because I read it thinking it was just going to be like, oh, it's like a weird like Minecraft adventure game, but it's like, no, the dungeon construction part is actually not important. What's important is the death game.
Yeah.
And the death game is very elaborate, and it's also pretty well drawn. So it looks like it's a very realistically drawn sort of series. And the main character is not like some Giga Chad. He spends like at least the first like 20 chapters like he's a NEET. He has no athletic ability. He looks shrunken and disgusting. He stinks. Like he's not physically pleasing at all. So it's like a little bait and switch where you think in the beginning it's just about him getting revenge on all the people, but he quickly runs out of people to get revenge on. And it's like, wait, where's the story going? It's like, oh shit, it's actually pretty good. So that's one.
That sounds good.
It is good. It is good. It's just, it hasn't been out very long. It's got about 20 chapters. So, you know, if you're into it, I would say like just dabble a bit and then maybe wait a bit for stuff to build up, because I actually really enjoyed it. Like I thought I was gonna read a couple chapters, laugh at it, and move on, and I was like, oh, I'm burning this. Like, wait, it's only got at the time like 18. Like shit, I want more. So that's one. And the second is a series called Knife and Fork, which I posted about online. It's what I really like out of the manhwa genre, when an author has like a original fantasy world that they want to build on. And so in this case, it's a very dark and gritty world where humans what are effectively dark elves and then lesser elves all live in this like hell like ultra conflict zone. Like it's like a medieval fantasy like fight to the death, but humans have more or less gotten their asses kicked. So they're like cattle to the dark elves, who are drawn a lot like more like vampires than elves if you like look at it. So there's like a hierarchy. The main character is a kid who's been separated from his brother who was blinded, and now he is a servant at a castle. And we enter the story with him already on the run, having stabbed the lord of that castle, who's also a young dark elf, in the eyeball. And he's basically running for his life, trips and falls into a cave with a certain kind of, there's a thing called there's a certain type of spider that exists in this world. They're like huge, and if they bite you, if the queen bites you, they incubate an egg inside, and some percentage of people who get that egg while they are gestating start to turn into this spider and get like crazy powers, but they will all eventually die, or very quickly die in a horrible way, because the spider will burst out of their bodies and devour them. So he is like on the run, and that happens to him, but he has the fortune or misfortune of running across a dark elf who is the, I don't know what equivalent, he's like fucking Frieza. I don't know, like he's absolutely a racist. He's like a general, but he is engaged in some political machinations to kind of like either take over the country that it all takes place in or whatever. But those two characters meeting each other, they both get entangled in each other's bullshit. Where the knife is he's the knife general, where he's like, oh, I see this kid, he's got a lot of potential, but he wants to fucking kill me. But if he survives this spider infestation, he would be a great tool, as long as I can control him. And so he basically offers to remove the egg before it gestates in exchange for that kid going with him, and in the process he'll help him find his brother. But meanwhile, they're on the run being hunted by the rest of his people because he's been framed for killing the king. But this guy is an absolute villain. This is not like a, misunderstood anything. This is like one of the strongest fighters in their realm, basically going one man army versus everybody else and dragging this kid along with him who wants to kill him. And so the series is called Knife and Fork and Knife. And what I like about it is that, number one, it's a unique original world. Number two, the art style is distinct. It doesn't look like anything else. Number three, ultra violence, like people getting split in half, like decapitations, like body parts, gore, but it's also drawn in this very like light cartoony style that when it gets to like the hyper violence, you're like, oh shit, it's fucking real. Like the main character, one of the things he manifests, he's the fork in the Fork and Knife. He gets claws, but one of his arms turns into like a whole metal thing that can like spin around like a grinder, and like he's like blowing people's heads off and constantly looking for.
Is that one of those pictures that you sent where like the blood spray was like coming out like crazy?
Yes. And they run into, and it's not been going very long. It's about 17 chapters, but every other chapter you're introduced to like more lore about the world. You start running into characters who are ridiculous, like assassins who have their vocal cords removed, but like in exchange for like losing like sight or the ability to speak or hear, they get like absolute superhuman abilities. And so watching them go like 1v1 with Knife, who's of a similar caliber, but like poisoned and injured, like he can't sleep because they keep attacking him. He has to like dig holes in the ground to sleep and shit. So like you have that feeling that this guy is OP and he could do some OP shit, but because he's weakened by the plot at every turn, it actually feels pretty harrowing as they're like running from place to place. There's like, all the usual adult themes of like slavery and torture and like sexual debauchery. There was a girl or a female character we run into that like the first time you see her, like, bro, this is about to be the waifu of the series. And then like an ugly nigga looks at her and she fucking like mollywops that man and stomps him out. He's like, because his ugliness was so much like it was just an insult that his ugliness even came in her direction. So like the characters will go from like 0 to 100, and then you're like, you want your main character to kill everybody. Like that's the best part about the series, is that nobody's good. So like you want people to have their comeuppance, but like there's some really great panels, and I really love what the author is doing with like the world building and the violence. It's great. Fork and Knife. Fork and Knife.
Oh,
look it up.
This sounds so good. Have you read any more of that one about those kids? Fuck, there's so many about kids. Manga. The manga, I think it was like a death game. The kids were going below Tokyo or some shit. It was like,
oh yeah, I that was a Shonen Jump.
Yeah, it was Shonen Jump. It was something new with Shonen Jump.
Yeah. No, I haven't, and I don't even know if that series got past 20 chapters.
Oh shit.
I don't know. I watched it. I read it when it was around, like it was brand new. I think there were three.
But you said you really enjoyed the first few chapters.
I did. No, I really did. I do not think it continued.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it may have gotten to around like 20, because that was out of a crop of series that got like there were most of them got canceled. Like it was they debuted like 33 new series over like 6 months, and like I think most of them were canceled.
Well, fuck. I think so. Okay, well, let me erase that out of my mind then.
Yeah, that was a tough that was a tough one. I'll see if I can look it up just to assure that I'm remembering what I think I'm remembering. I do actually want to give a shout out. What's the new one? Is it Kagurabachi? That actually looks like it's got some legs. Like people were clowning because there was that unintentional viral marketing campaign around
what is it?
Kagurabachi is a new shonen jump series that just started. I want to say like last month, but what on American.
This I've seen pictures of this everywhere.
So what happened was that there was a, the usual promotion cycle started, and they obviously there was like a couple of like, pieces from like the first chapter were released, or at least like the promo images. And so somewhere on the internet, probably on like Twitter or TikTok, people took this and they were like, Kagurabachi is going to be the greatest thing since Dragon Ball. Like they're being over the top hyping it because
I saw
it was
that.
Like, yeah, and the reason it was ironic because like again, Shonen Jump be canceling shit left and right, and so it actually dropped, and it turned out like the first chapter was pretty good. So like the ironic hype cycle actually turned into real day one readership, and the series looks like it's pretty good. I mean, I read the first few chapters and I'm like, yeah, this actually, this feels like a real one. So it's that, union of hyper irony, then turning into like earnest.
The universe like, wheels interest. It.
Yeah. And now I think a lot of people who were in on it because they figured it would just like flop and go away, I have to reckon with the fact that like it's actually, it may stick around and be pretty good. So I think that's what's going on. I thought that was interesting. I didn't know anything about that hype cycle.
This is so funny because I've been seeing this on Twitter, and I'm like, oh, if it's really popular, it'll become an anime eventually. I'll check it out then. I didn't know it was like brand new.
It's just the peak fiction meme, right? It's like, you know what I mean? Like,
because I mean, I didn't even know about Demon Slayer until the anime, and it was huge. So I'm just like, yeah, this shit I don't know about. But
I'm trying to remember if I read Demon Slayer before the first trailer dropped for the season. I don't remember. Normally if I'm like ahead on something, I remember that, but I don't recall. So, it is what it is. But
what is Tenmaku Cinema? This looks cool. Hold on.
Maybe canceling shit, bro.
Suggesting all these shonen jumps. Yeah, who is this? She looks like S Death. What the fuck is that?
Well, listen, give me some S Death, man.
Oh, it's a guy. I think it's
I'm not against that. Regardless. There was another one that didn't last. The name escapes me. It was like there was like a Yakuza themed demon underworld, and like the main character basically gets contracted to someone who's basically trying to become like the dawn of all demons, but he has like no ability. I remember what that was. I remember I read like the first couple chapters, like, yeah, it's actually pretty interesting, and it got canceled. Shit got canceled, man.
Oh well, something will survive. All right.
Also, the only thing I say is shout out to niggas waiting with bated breath for JJK chapter 239. That may make or break some people. We'll see.
Okay, wait. Since the last time, this last time when all I know is that somebody died. Somebody's dead.
Well, somebody got washed in 238.
Oh shit!
Somebody got absolutely washed.
But apparently it was like round 2. So like
there's
people weren't
okay. A lot of stuff happening.
Anyways, all I know is that niggas were distracted. It got to the point where I got spoiled on it regardless because I blocked names. I blocked the whole thing, and it was
you can't block names of people you didn't meet yet. They were out there.
Well, I don't know. Well, wait. Well, then maybe I haven't been spoiled on that one then.
Okay.
Okay. Well, you know what? I don't know. And do not message me saying, "Oh, you're talking about this one." No.
Nope.
No, I don't know anything. Okay. All I know is that niggas are losing their minds on a weekly basis over Jujutsu Kaisen, which is amazing. Which means I cannot wait until Whatever, what,
People are
5,
so
6 years from
dumb,
now?
man. This is, you know what's so funny about just watching people freak out? It's like, it's the people who are mad that something happened and they're like,
Yeah,
I'm
they're
dropping it
mad.
after this. I'm
They're
like, you
mad.
realize that like the fact that you feel that way is why this is a good series, because you actually feel something.
No, it's only supposed to please them and make them happy.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's
My bad.
what entertainment is supposed to be.
My bad.
How dare you offer any other alternative? They are paying their non-existent money for it.
You're right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything. So, well, I guess that is it for us this week.
Yes, that is it. So if you haven't already, follow us on Blue Sky, because that might actually have to be the move. But I
Twitter
also don't
sucks,
know.
bro.
It's getting, my God, what is it? Charged to follow people or something soon?
This is insane.
I don't know. Anyways, follow us on Blue Sky. If you can't find us, Blue Sky, animesavants, etc., animesavants.bluesky, etc. We are on YouTube. We got community notes like real fucking early. I don't know why we got it, but we have it. So follow us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
Yep. You hit me up on Twitter for now, but I also want to get over on Blue Sky, at Neural Handshake. Man, the social media, it's just not, it's not it, man.
It's exactly what we thought was going to happen, which is it's literally like, for people who rely on it as like a source of information, unbiased information, it's being dismantled. It doesn't fucking work. It's not working. Or no, actually it's serving its purpose, because niggas don't fact check shit.
No.
So they run in with it.
Whatever, man.
Relax
and be happy.
Listen, wherever the niggas go, that's where everybody else goes. That's what it always is. That's always what happens. But all right, we will catch y'all next time. Bye.